Everyone, how is it going? GM. Hey, Jana, how's it going? How are you? Hope you could hear me. Hope my audio's coming in well. GM, everybody. Thursday, March 20th, and it's a beautiful day for me here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm curious where everyone's coming in from in the world. Hello, Deli Drew, Jesse, how's it going? Mr. Nord, how you doing? Dew, hello. Emmy Troco, hello, Sean. Hello, Banda J. Tenix, hello. Welcome to Graph Builders Office Hours this Thursday, March 20th. Really happy to be having y'all on today. We're going to wait for people to filter in as we're getting going. But as usual, feel free to drop questions in the chat and we will have a good day with the office hours today. So, yep. Hello. Welcome. El Edgiberto, how's it going? All right. How is everyone doing? So just so everyone knows, we are streaming here on Graph Devs, which is the Graph's developer-focused Twitter account. If you have any questions, if you're watching on Graph Devs on Twitter and you would like to chat, feel free to join the Graph Discord. The Graph Discord is where I'm going to be interacting with chat and seeing where the questions are. So if that is the case for anyone who's out there watching on X and wants to dive in, feel free to dive in on the Graph Discord. So real quick announcement. What I always like to do, my job is dev relations, working for Edge and Node, which is a core development team working on the graph. Feedback is super duper important. And so what I want to do, I'll share it with chat. Hey, Wara Latito. Hello. How's it going? I'm going to share this in chat here. Let's see. Network. Yep. The Graph Developer Survey. So if anyone here has any thoughts, any feelings, specifically if you are a developer and you would like to share what is on your mind with the developer experience of working on the graph technology, we're here to hear it. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear what's going on. That's really important to us to understand what's going on with the graph builders out there. And that's my job. Hello. I want to interface with all the builders out there. So feel free to take the time to fill out that survey. That means a lot to me personally because I get to know who is actually using the technology that I'm working so hard every day to support. And then also a lot of the engineers internally are working very hard to support. So getting this feedback feels good. Yes. Yes, you're back. Yeah, the last few weeks were a little bit interesting with unfortunate reschedules, but we're happy to be back this week. So, but yeah, if you are able to fill out that survey, that will really mean a lot to the developers who are working on building the graph, Edge and Node, and all of the other core developers working. And I do my very best to get this information out to project managers, to leads, to many different people who are building on the graph. So please fill that out. That means a lot. And from there, I'll just get into it. And for today's workshop, it's going to be really an introduction and also a call to action for understanding the diverse ways that a person could learn subgraph development and understand it in a way that takes advantage of there's a decentralized nature within the graph. There's core devs, there's many different core devs, many different people, many different communities. What I wanted to do is have a single workshop to really say, hey, are you a beginner? Here's some actual tooling to get going, not just videos. There's lots of videos out there. Feel free to jump in there. A lot of documentation, tons of docs out there. The graph docs are fantastic. But if you want something to actually get hands-on, that's a different way to learn. And that's really important to me as an educator. It's one thing that I think is important. Get hands-on, actually build with the tooling, and don't just sit back and read docs or watch videos. Actually use it. So that's what this workshop's about, getting developers going with how to actually get their hands dirty, if you will, with learning and doing so in a hands-on way. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to share the entire screen, and I will be able to see chat over here. I am doing multi-screen right now. I'll put on Do Not Disturb. All right, so let's get into it. I hope everyone's doing well today. Hope everyone's enjoying themselves. So we're going to go over tools, products, and resources for subgraph development. Yes, you can use docs. Yes, you can use videos. This is really about getting hands-on right away and building as quickly as possible with the actual tooling that's in the ecosystem and getting that terminal some use. So we're going to go through two different stages, beginner and intermediate. We're not going to go super advanced, but once again, it's tools, resources, products, tools, resources, products. And hopefully, this is done in an organized way, relatively streamlined, and can be used as a reference should you guys want more opportunities to really get your hands on and develop. So, first things first, as a beginner, what are the tools to get going? Well, of course, Graph CLI is there. And so if anyone here has not built a subgraph just yet, go ahead and download Graph CLI. It's kind of the portal into organizing and developing your subgraphs and scaffolding them very quickly. And so I'm not going to go into too much of Graph CLI. The features are awesome. It is the home base for developing subgraphs and just essentially getting started with the graph and subgraph. So I'm not going to take a whole lot of time on that as there's been a lot of education based on that CLI already. But let's just go ahead and say Graph CLI. That's how you get started spinning up a subgraph. There's a lot of cool features in there. Go ahead and check out the docs with that. And if you haven't done that just yet, do that. Now, this is one I want to highlight. My fellow teammate, Kevin Jones, works very hard as a developer relations professional as for the graph and edge node, and also he works with scaffold eth. And if anyone here has built before with scaffold eth, I say awesome. And if you haven't, this is your call to action to do just that. If you haven't built with this command right here, just pull up your terminal. I'm just going to do this live right now, and we can do this as friends. Let's go ahead and let's just say open folder. And we're going to open a new folder and we'll make a new project and we'll say it's, we're going to do, this is scaffold eth live demo. Okay, cool. So we're just going to open this up and we're going to do this live. And really, the capacity for this to provide a really incredible development experience is second to none for subgraphs specifically, because essentially what we have is demo. What we have is a local development environment where we can iterate and test things very quickly without having to go to different windows, without having to dance around too much. We have the entire testing, the ability to write smart contract code, the ability to write subgraph code, the ability to write queries, the ability to have a front end all built in one location. So this right here, in terms of getting hands-on in a local environment, there's really nothing better out there. So if you haven't had the time to go to Scaffold ETH, and use the Subgraph plugin. There's a plugin, I believe it's called a plugin or extension, essentially using this npx command, npx create-eth at latest, and there's a little flag there, subgraph. That right there creates this local environment for the building of this. So while this is spinning up, come on, spin up, formatting files, here we go, initializing Git repository. While this is spinning up, oh, there we go. Very nice. So I'll just do this live right now just so we could see how interactive this is. CD, what did it say? DAP demo. And then we have to open three different tabs because there's three different things that are interacting with each other. We're simulating a blockchain right here on our local computer. So we don't have to go out and find actual blockchain data. We're simulating it here. We're also deploying the contracts on that simulated blockchain with Yarn deploy. And then we can start the front end, which is Yarn start. And essentially, when we start the front end, that's the way our website looks here. We'll have debugging there, and it connects the front end automatically through a subgraph into the back end, which is not the back end essentially, but it's the chain and where the contracts are deployed on the chain through a subgraph, all done automatically. So it's really impressive. And let's just do this live here. You're on chain, and it's spinning up this chain, and we have these fake private keys, or I guess local. I guess they're real, but they are local here and not to be used anywhere else. And then it was Yarn deploy, which takes the simulated, oh, you have the CD into it. What was it? DAP demo. There we go. And then Yarn deploy. Very nice. And that deploys the smart contract that's automatically spun up here. That deploys it onto the simulated chain. So that's really cool. And then from there, we are able to go ahead and do yarn start. And that takes our front end and puts it all together. So I've always been impressed with anything Scaffold-eth does, and now that subgraphs are able to be plugged in automatically as part of the development experience, that's really super nice. So we can see we have the three folders here. We have the hard hat, that's a framework for smart contract development. And then we have Next.js, that's the front end and the way the website looks. And then we have the subgraph, and it's all connecting these automatically in this local environment. That might have been a lot of information for those who are getting started, but just know if you like to be hands-on and have everything in one location as opposed to hopping from one location to another, this is a great place to go. So Hardhat, Next.js, and Subgraph are all connected, and we can go ahead and dive in. Let's see if that local host is pull up. Very nice. And very nice. And live demo time on a live screen. It is compiled. Very nice. We have a 200. And that's a good report, and we are live. So that's cool. It's doing it all locally. This is not going to website. This is on localhost. We have home. We have subgraph details right through here. It's a really nice environment to develop. Highly recommended. This is pretty cool right here. All of these commands waiting for you, and then you can debug the contracts as well. So please play with this if you are looking to get going with subgraph development. The Scaffold-eth live the Scaffold-eth package is really nice for subgraphs. So let's go back and go into the next bit of tooling where I've built a lot of subgraphs in my years in the graph ecosystem. And one thing that I've always used all the time was what was called miniscan.xyz. As we notice right here, this was a product developed by another developer outside who's not part of Edgenode or the Graph team, but found it very useful. And this person put their code in a public repository, and it can be forked and made into a actual website once again. But I thought it was interesting. Would this be a good time to build a little CLI tool that essentially could do what that website's doing? Because I'm always in my CLI, I'm always in my terminal all the time. So I built this little terminal thingy thing. The CLI is called the Contract Analyzer, and it's still got bugs. I'm still working on it, but it's pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with it. Where are we here? Is it right here? Let's see. I believe it's one of these tabs here. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. And I believe it's this one. Nope. It's one of these around here. It's okay. I will find it. Oh, let's see. Did I close it? Scaffold live demo, quick start. I think this is it. Let's see if this works. Can I analyze? I'm just going to give it a go. I believe this works right here because I did install it globally. Let's do this. Let's do this together live. Once again, live demo time. So we're going to CD into my desktop and then projects directory. And then we're going to make a for analysis, and then we're going to go into this folder and clear. And then the CLI essentially it's called CANA, the Contract Analyzer. And when I'm building a subgraph, I need to know some basics. I need to know the start block. I need to know the events that are being emitted, maybe the ABI. And sometimes I can pull that up using the graph CLI, but there's other times where I need to do some more advanced stuff with the ABI. Maybe I'm combining ABIs, and I just need the raw data. I just need to know more details about that smart contract, and that's where this smart contract analyzer comes in. So I'm going to pull in let's actually do CANA help and see what that looks like here. Very nice. And so essentially what we can do is analyze a lot of this information. We'll open this up in a new, let's do code. And we'll open this up in here. So we just have a clean viewpoint. Very nice. So CANA help. And we will see right now, we can do analysis on certain chains that I've set up. So CANA chains. And we have Ethereum and Base, of which I've set up, and that's part of the setup. There's a little bug with the setup right now that I'm trying to fix, but that's working pretty well. And right now, Ethereum is the default chain for analysis. So if I have a smart contract and I say CANA-A analyze, Let's find a smart contract on Etherscan. Etherscan. I default to CryptoPunks. That's my OG smart contract that I analyze all the time because that's how I got started. And we'll analyze the smart contract here, and hopefully this works live. Yay, this works live. So when we spin up this CLI, we get the details of the kind of high level, the deployment block. Is it verified? Is it a proxy? We have more details about this. And then if we need more than this, we can go into the actual files that were created. Sometimes there are many, many, many files in this that have many different Solidity files, and it brings all of them in here into this folder. This is only one because it's an OG, a smart contract. It also gets the ABI, brings it in here, and some event information. It actually just gets some more subtle details of event information. I'm looking to extend this CLI to have some more features that will essentially do implementation, smart contract analysis as well as a proxy, does both and compares them, and creates a combined ABI for better indexing. Like, this is a cool little tool. I'm really proud of it. And I hope that this will be useful as I continue to extend this for the graph ecosystem. So yeah, that's the contract analyzer. And yes, Sababa, please tell me this is being recorded. It is being recorded. So yes, it'll be on Twitter as well as on the Graph's YouTube to have this as a resource. So great question. But yeah, this is a contract analyzer. It gets a little bit more detail than as opposed to spinning up a subgraph to get that detail. It's kind of in between Graph CLI and the blockchain. It's a little intermediate step if desired. So those are the tools that I recommend for beginners. Let's talk about the actual products for beginners. And these are products that are essentially ready to go and not really tooling. They're meant to be used. And this is basecamp.thegraph.com. Another amazing product in the graph ecosystem. This was put together by my buddy Kevin Jones, and he used scaffold-eth to actually build this. And it's now a fully interactive educational platform. So you're not just reading stuff or watching videos, you're actually having to build subgraphs. And you're actually having to submit the code and seeing if you can actually have a learning experience, not just watching videos or reading docs. It's a really cool thing. There's missions and there's rewards, and it's very well done. So shout out to Kevin. He's been doing great work with Scaffold-eth, and this is a true product. I mean, this is Graph Builders Basecamp. Great job, Kevin. And I highly recommend it if anyone out there who has not done this, go ahead and give it a try. Get those rewards, and it's fun time. From that, another product that is out there to get a higher level view of what's going on with subgraphs in the graph network. This is a different direction from actually building subgraphs, but actually seeing their value within the ecosystem. GraphSeer is great, and that's being built and maintained by a graph core dev by Graph Ops. Yes, shout out to Graph Ops. I agree, Jana. That is a big one right here. And we can see from a high level what's going on with the graph. And we have indexers. We could just see some data around them and some subgraph deployments and the subgraphs as well. And if that's ever confusing, that is okay. There's an ability to learn. Where's the graph? They have a wonderful glossary right there. In terms of if you're having difficulty with understanding index or total APR, index or rewards APR. Dive in. Feel free to understand a little bit more about this data because this can be a lot of information. Right now, this is like, whoa, what am I looking at here? Totally get it. It's a lot of information very quickly. And what I'd recommend is taking your time to understand from a high level how these subgraphs are operating in the graph network, and then really saying, all right, well, what's the effective reward cut, effective query fee cut, query fees collected, and understanding how these indexers are operating and the rewards they're getting and giving every single day. So really cool to see this in production right now. Shout out to Graph Ops for this, to understand subgraphs in the graph network as a whole. So really cool job. And I would say, I believe those are all the tooling products that I would recommend for people getting started with subgraphs and the graph. Now, there's resources, of course. Now, this is assuming, of course, graph docs are amazing resources. However, I would really want to hone in on this one, subgraph best practices in the graph docs when you're getting started. You could have a lot of extensions with subgraphs. You could have a lot of features added, a lot of cool things, but just make sure that when you're building, you're doing it with best practices. Because essentially, you're building a piece of technology that's meant to be optimized. And if you're building technology in an unoptimized way, it's not going to be a good experience for you. You're truly going to be building tech that will not operate in its best light. So check out Subgraph best practices if you have not yet. This is a good resource for beginners, even if you're intermediate and advanced, I would say. Know this stuff the graph.com docs. And shout out to the docs team and also the front end website team who've updated the look of this. This looks really nice, I have to say. And so if you go into subgraphs right here and then the best practices, these are the best practices. And they're really, really important to have a good experience with subgraphs to make sure they're optimized. They're relatively simple. It's more just to get you guys aware of these techniques and just kind of review them at first. Don't need to learn them like perfectly, but just kind of review them and refer back to them anytime you're about to make like a big update or lots of changes. Just make sure that this stuff might just solve the issue for you. For example, avoiding ETH calls, that's a good one. Time series aggregations, that's a really cool feature that unlocks a lot new opportunities for subgraphs. Immutable entities and bytes as IDs, those are very nice. So there's lots of cool stuff in here. So I'd start with this as a resource as you're getting started specifically. And of course, the docs as a whole are quite voluminous. Dive in, but I'd start with best practices to get going. So we've done best practices, of course, examples and query examples. Now we're into some more resources here. So it's a little bit of reading, but I would take the time to go through these. I would go to the Graph Protocol GitHub. And if we just look in examples, let's see, examples, graph tooling, there it is. So if we just go into this folder right here, graph tooling examples, we get example subgraphs of commonly built subgraphs. If we're trying to build on Ethereum, on the Cosmos, Arweave, aggregations, that's time series aggregations. That's a very cool feature. You can see a demo subgraph of how someone might build this feature into this. We can see a substreams powered subgraph, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. We're seeing this one's really cool. This is a subgraph that is specific to a file data sources subgraph that's getting detail from Lens as well as, I believe it's Arweave and Lens and also IPFS and bringing it into one data source, bringing it into one location, into one subgraph. It's a very impressive subgraph. So yeah, I would tinker through this a little bit, see what you can learn to see example subgraphs and see what's out there. And same thing with example subgraphs, there's example queries. So let's go to organization graph protocol and then example queries. Here we are. This repository was put together by, here we go, graph client. Where is it? I'm so close. It was, let's do it. Graph protocol example query GitHub. There we go. Query examples. There we are. Found it. So this was put together by my buddy Chris, a fantastic front-end developer who created all of these different framework options for essentially you to drag and drop into your project. And if you're using Vue or Remix or React or Curl or Node or Python, Golang, Nuxt, I mean, so many different options to drag into your project, it essentially allows you just to drop in your API key, and then you can go ahead and get that data from subgraphs. So it's really well designed from the front end if you're a front-end developer and just kind of want to drag and drop. Or if you're a back-end developer, if you're a smart contract developer and you just want to drag it into your front end, a framework of your choice, this is the way to go. So shout out to Chris. Great job with this. And let's keep on going. So we did query examples and also subgraph examples. And then here we go. We're going to get a little bit more advanced now for the tooling. Let's say you know how to query a subgraph. You know what subgraphs look like with the examples. You already know subgraph best practices. You are aware of how subgraphs operate and how the rewards occur with subgraphs in the graph network. You've already passed Basecamp and done well with that. And you're also understanding how to use the CLI very well. You know how to use Scaffold ETH very well. If you do use it, that's great. And then also you can, of course, dive into the contract analyzer. You're ready for intermediate. You're ready to go into intermediate, even advanced, I'd say. This is where Graph Client comes in. Graph Client is a client. It is a library meant to allow a single query to go to many different subgraphs or many queries to go to many subgraphs. Essentially, look at it like a way to just accelerate your ability to query many subgraphs all at once. And if you have complex queries and you're using different, just more advanced, let's just say that. I've used it a little bit myself. I haven't had graph client. There we go. I would say if you're wondering about more advanced features for querying subgraphs, this is the place to go. And here are all the features. You could have multiple indexers you can go to as opposed to one, different fetch strategies. And you can do client-side composition, which is really nice. You could essentially say in the client, in your browser from there, you can compose what you would like with queries. And then there's cross-chain subgraph handling, which is basically taking different subgraphs and handling that into one location through the graph client, which is really nice. This one's really nice. I've seen a lot of requests for automatic pagination, essentially that when there's a 1,000, there's a limit on 1,000 pieces of data that can return from a query. And so if you want that to actually go past and have automatic queries to be sent every single time, that's a great feature. And live queries, so polling, that's a similar feature that relates to automatic pagination. Definitely something to play with if you haven't already. So Graph Client makes that quite powerful. Let's keep on going. We have a few more here. Now, this is a relatively new feature, networks registry. Now, let's say you're a new chain and you want to get your chain integrated very fast with the graph, and you don't want to have to wait on certain processes. You could do that with networks registries. Uh, registry, here we are. And I personally haven't used this just yet because this just came out a few months ago, as we can see here, 4 months ago. But essentially, and I know a lot of people are working on this right now. I haven't personally used this, but I do know this is a very powerful tool that a lot of developers in the ecosystem have been excited about. Essentially, anyone can add a new chain to the graph. And I'm not going to speak too much on that because I have not personally used this. I haven't had the need to add a new chain to the graph personally, but I do know that this is available, and we want people to give this a try and say, hey, are you wanting to add, is your smart contract on a certain chain that is not indexed by the graph? Go ahead and give this a go and let us know how that goes. So that's a cool feature that was just released a few weeks ago. And the next one, we're going in away from subgraphs a little bit, but not necessarily. This is Substreams Starter. So if we go to Substreams Starter, GitHub, this is my favorite way to get started with substreams. Essentially, what a substreams is a different product than a subgraph, but just think of a substream as a way to get much more raw blockchain data indexed, like all the way down to very low level blockchain data. And you are able to sync it wherever you want. Basically, put that data wherever you'd like to. Where subgraphs are relatively narrow in what they are allowing, substreams are much more flexible. What you could actually do with substreams, because they're so flexible, is put the data that you're getting from a substream into a subgraph. And if you're used to working with subgraphs, it would be really nice to say, hey, wouldn't this be easy? Well, yes, you can do that. You can actually sync the subgraph, the substream's data, into a subgraph. So you see this command right there, substreams codegen subgraph. Essentially, if you spin this up in the code space, and from there go through the README and index a smart contract of your choice, and then sync it into a subgraph, you can do that. And you have a substreams powered subgraph. And there's been a lot of work into this, a lot of optimizations. And I like this because you're learning how to build with substreams, how to build with subgraphs, and do it in an authentic way where you could see the code and how it's relating. And it's all done through CodeGen. This is all done automatically. You don't actually have to code at any point of this development process. It's very well done to get started here. So this is the Substream Starter Dev Kit and Streaming Fast a Substreams Starter. That's where I would get going if I were you. So that's a really good one to get started with substreams and subgraphs and see them side by side and see how they interact. That's a really good one. And let's go ahead and that was the tooling and how to get going. Let's go to intermediate products. And leaning a little bit heavier into substreams here, substreams.dev, if you haven't checked it out yet. Essentially, substreams.dev allows for modularity, where let's say you're handling data in a certain way and you're working really hard and you're trying to take that data in a very custom way, but then you're thinking, well, there might be someone else who's already transformed the data in a way that's nearly identical or identical to the way that I need. You can go ahead and see what they're doing and take in that logic and bring it into your own substream. And that's a really cool feature that Substreams has. So you can see what's going on in here, see how people are transforming the data, and just bring it into your product, into your substreams through substreams.dev. Very, very powerful, cool product here, cool different dashboards, and you can see what's going on. A good shout out to the Streaming Fast team. Really nice work. So let's keep on going. There's a lot of different tooling, a lot of different products, and some resources. So we're going to keep this pretty simple with resources. If you are looking to really push yourself a little bit and, have more critique and more of a involved learning experience, go to buildersdao.tech. These guys are the builders of subgraphs and substreams, and they do it professionally. The subgraphs and substreams they built are for the graph itself, for Uniswap. They've built some big old substreams and subgraphs. And it is a community. It is a DAO. And they are interested in dedicated people who are learning and wanting to learn substreams and subgraphs, and also potentially even get paid for their efforts, because this is a DAO and they do take, if anyone would like to hire them to build subgraphs and or substreams, go to buildersdao.tech. And I could personally vouch for a lot of the builders in this ecosystem. They are top notch. They are very, very good at what they do. And essentially, if you're on a team and you want to hire these guys, don't want to learn substreams or subgraph development, these guys are waiting for you and they're ready to build. If you want to learn with them, please reach out to their Discord. They have a Discord, Builders DAO Discord, and they will help you learn if you're dedicated with subgraph and substream development. That is everything for this. And with this presentation coming to a close, what I'll say is, from the very beginning, I did ask for feedback. So if anyone out there does have feedback, I'll drop it in chat right now. Let's see again. Here we go. The Graph Developer Survey. I'll just double tap on this, double click on this. Please, feedback is a big deal for this, where essentially we want to build for the people in our ecosystem and also outside of our ecosystem. And the only way we can do that is if we know who those people are and what they want built. And so that's a really important thing for this. So I'll leave it at that. I think we had a good 30-minute little session here, and this is recorded. This will be put on YouTube. I would really highly recommend for those out there who want to get started to refer back to this and to just dive in. Depending on what level of learning is best for you, these tools, products, and resources are all there. And personally, I learn best by just diving in and building stuff. So please go out there and dive in, build stuff, build it wrong, build it right, and offer critiques. If something's confusing, use that feedback form. We're trying to build better for everyone here. So with that being said, thank you so much for your time. And Sababa, fabulous session today. Thank you so much. Jana, thank you so much. I'm really happy that you guys are watching and enjoying this. And with that being said, enjoy the rest of your day. And I will see you guys next week on March 27th for another episode of Graph Builders Office Hours. All right. See you, Wara. See you, Martine. Enjoy the rest of your day.